The time, 4:31 a.m.
We are in the bathroom and told there's 2 people in here that are about to die. There's 4 already dead. Someone needs to come in here now.
Listen, I understand, and I know you're scared. We have help coming to you, okay? You're in the house.
Just we're sitting here.
I understand. They have to secure the scene, okay?
Okay, send someone in here. These 2 people are going to bleed out. 4 is going to turn to 6 if someone doesn't come in here.
Okay, and you're in the restroom?
Yes.
Which restroom
Can we walk out with our hands up?
No, we're not telling you to do that yet.
No. Someone needs to get sent in here then. Someone, just one person, someone, a paramedic, someone needs to
What
come
is
in
your
here.
name? How many people are in there?
There's about 16 of us.
15?
4 are dead. Yes.
And how many are deceased?
1, 2, 3, 4 that I can see.
Okay.
And then 1 and 2 are about to react. Talk to me.
All right, so you can see there'll be no video on this. I'm just going to kind of talk through this as I'm looking at the slides too. So you need to identify life-threatening bleeding. Okay, and you're going to see a video coming up here in a second that's going to actually kind of show that on life-threatening. When we say life-threatening bleeding, we're talking about actual spurting of blood. All right, so venous bleeds tend to kind of just slowly ooze out. Arterial bleeding that needs to be addressed immediately may not be spurting or may be heavily flowing. So it's flowing much faster than a normal bleed. And if you see it, you're going to go, oh, okay, that's bleeding out a lot. Those are the things that we need to address, okay? So identify life-threatening bleeding. Number 2 is take the steps to stop the bleeding. All right, so right off the bat, we're going to basically do pressure. Let me turn the camera on. All right, so we're going to, I'm going to kind of, is that, so I can kind of see the slides too. Can I do that at the same time? That'd be awesome. Sorry, I don't see the screen, so I'm not sure we're all seeing. All right, so first thing is pressure. All right, so stop the bleeding. Pressure is direct pressure. Zach or Marty, you want to come over here. So if he's got to bleed somewhere that we need to address, first thing right off the bat is I need to get pressure on it. So if he's got to bleed on his arm, I'm going to immediately stop. All right, so it's direct pressure. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And in packing and in tourniquets. All right, so we've got direct pressure. We're going to switch back and forth. So direct pressure on that wound. All right, the other thing is a pressure point. We'll go over that here in just a second. So you see someone bleeding, grab it and stop it. All right, as tight as you can get it. At that point, if it's not working, then you're going to have to probably resort to a pressure point, which we'll show here in just a second. So I'll bring you back over in a second. All right, so come off the video, back to PowerPoint. All right, so packing and then tourniquets. So let's go to the next video, or next slide. All right, so number 1, your safety is your first priority. If you're injured and you cannot help others only when it's safe to do so. All right, if the situation changes, it becomes unsafe, stop, move safely. You do absolutely no good if you go down also. All right, so is the scene safe? Is there a horrible accident on the side of the road? Is it safe to even stop and get out? All right. Is there shooting going on? Are you at the movie theater and there's shooting going on? Is that the right time to treat? Absolutely not. We train our officers, we train ourselves that good medicine at the wrong time will get everybody killed. So is it safe to treat? If it's not, all right, I want to go home. All right, I will do everything I can to save your life. But if it's not safe, I drop down and I get shot, I get injured, I get ran over. If the pit bull's still chewing everybody to pieces, it's probably not safe to enter. Okay, so and keep in mind, we call this dynamic. It could become safe and it become unsafe. So you may need to stop, back up, and go, it's not safe again. All right, accident scenes are horrible on the side of the highways. They can attest to it. It's a good way to get ran over. People are not paying attention. All right, so move to safety. If you can, take the victim with you or have them talk them to you. All right, next slide. All right, wear gloves if you can. If you've got gloves in today's world, it'd be nice. If you don't have gloves, it's probably not. If you get blood on you, make sure to clean it. Tell the healthcare provider you got blood on you, follow his or her direction. So if you get exposed, tell them that you've got blood on you. They're going to probably tell you you'll be just fine. All right, so don't freak out. Next slide. All right, the right thing at the right time. All right, the right treatment at the right time is crucial. If you do not do the right thing at the right time, you get everybody hurt. All right, good medicine at the wrong time gets you killed. So you may have the best intentions ever. You want to put the tourniquet on them, but at the same time, you just took a round to your head. All right, great job. You saved them. Not nice. All right, true story. There's a reason why we tell them there's a certain time that we treat, certain times that we don't. Certain times that you're on your own to treat yourself. All right, so the ABCs of bleeding, we're on the B now. Bleeding, find the source of the bleeding, look for continuous bleeding, large volume bleeding, pooling of blood. It's very, very important that you find all sources of bleeding. All right, it's crucial that you do. So look underneath clothes, feel down the backside of their legs. If you've got a gunshot wound, you may have an entrance, you may have an exit. So if you have one hole, look for two, look for four, look for eight, that type of thing. Next slide. I think we've got several ones. So he's going to bring up all these ones. Okay, so you see the different slides on that. You've got arms and legs, you got necks, armpits, and groin, and a body. The arms and legs are the places that we can actually wound pack or put tourniquets on. The armpits or groin and the neck. All right, I always get a question, can we put a tourniquet on a neck? The answer to that would be no, okay? It depends how much you dislike them, because that's going to be the end of, but I prefer you don't put it around her neck, and if you do, you didn't learn it from me. So the armpits and groin, once again, you learn from Sean. You're going to meet Sean. He's one of our tactical medics. We're all very close in here. And Zach and Marty, we're all good in here. All right. So arms and legs, tourniquets, you can wound pack those. Anywhere you can put a tourniquet on, you can probably wound pack. The same does not go for wound packing. All right, so we cannot put a tourniquet on in the inguinal area or armpits or groin or neck. We do not wound pack anything on the chest. If it's the body, we don't wound pack it, leave it alone. It doesn't do any good to wound pack a belly. You can't get deep enough. You don't have any idea where the bleeding site is. It is what it is. I need to get to the hospital quickly. Just not a lot you can do for that at your level that we're teaching. All right, next one. All right, how long does it take to bleed to death of femoral artery or vein disruption? A significant femoral artery or vein disruption. All right, so I take a huge gunshot wound or knife wound or whatever else to my femoral artery. It's going to take you 90 seconds. All right. Next slide. Of that 90 seconds, your TUC, time or useful consciousness, that's actually how long you're actually awake. All right, there is a video we watched in SWAT school 4 years ago of a Pakistani soldier who shoots a Turkish soldier in the femoral area, and they just videotape him bleeding out. All right. That's what they do in the Middle East, I don't know. But so of that 60 seconds, they're only conscious, of that 90 seconds, they're only conscious 60. Okay. The last 30 seconds, you are unconscious, and you've got no ability to do anything. So you're useless. You cannot stop your own bleeding. All right, so let's say we take a gunshot wound or a knife wound or you drop a plate glass window on your leg and you disrupt it. You're going to be sitting there for probably 15 to 20 seconds figuring out what the heck just happened to you. What do I need to do? Oh, God, that hurts. Oh, that hurts so bad. It hurts really bad. What do I need to do? So you just burned up 15 seconds of your 60 seconds. All right. Now we're down to 45 seconds on a significant femoral bleed. You do have longer for arms and stuff like that, but the thing I'm getting at is it goes by quickly. You've got to treat this. All right, you don't have long. You live to let others live. That's the whole game behind this, okay? All right, compress and pressure. So ABC is alert 911, bleeding and compress. So the first thing to do is compress. I showed you on Zach. Apply direct pressure to wound, focus on the location of bleeding. So it's deep, hard pressure. use just enough gauze or cloth to cover the wound. If pressure stops the bleeding, keep pressure on the wound until it arrives. So if actually direct pressure does any sort of good, stay on it, all right? But it's going to have to be hard and prep. All right, so you're going to see this video here in just a second. She's just using a t-shirt to cover the wound. Use whatever you've got. That is true. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and you don't have a medical kit on you, whatever else, just use a t-shirt or whatever else. Good, hard, deep pressure. And you stay on it till the bleeding stops, or it's not controlling it at all and you've got to go to your next source of control. All right, for large wounds, superficial pressure is not effective. If bleeding is from a deep wound, you've got to pack it tightly into the wound, all right? They make stuff called QuikClot, which we're going to show you here in just a little bit. QuikClot does well, not the old powder stuff, but the actual packing stuff. She's going to show you on a video on this, and I'm going to have Marty come over here and demonstrate how exactly to do it. But I'm going to kind of point out, I'm going to let you watch the video, I'm going to let Marty do it over here, I'll move everything else, and we're going to kind of talk about what's been done wrong. So go ahead and show that video. So compressed packing.
So I got my QuikClot gauze. First thing you do is assess pressure, get it open, all the way over one end. Take it, before you stick it in, find the hole, find where the bleeding started. So you find that, put your finger on it, start shoving that in, hold it down, don't take pressure off of it. You're dealing with human tissue, it does expand. So even though it might be a small hole that you can see, really feel around, so you'll have to pack more in. I don't know if you can actually even see that. Walk with your hands if you need to. This wound actually goes all the way around. Okay, got all this extra, take it. Put it over. Doesn't have to be neat, just get it all on there. And hold direct pressure. If that's in your hand, your forearm, your knee. There you got that.
How long do you hold pressure for?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. All right. So the reason why we hold 3 minutes is inside of this gauze, there is kaolin. So it's an active ingredient that actually utilizes our body's own clotting mechanism. But it only works if you hold pressure on this for 3 minutes. You've got to allow this ingredient that's inside a QuikClot to actually work. It's imperative that you do hold it for 3 minutes. All right. If it soaks through after 3 minutes and you have more QuikClot, just keep packing it on top of it. Keep packing it. I'll go ahead and hold it on there if you want to hold this up. So you want to go ahead and actually It's under the edge so they can actually see it. Come on over and wrap that. All right, so I still got direct pressure on it. This is called pressure. She's going to go around and she's going to go back. This is called an Israeli bandage. She's going to go back through here, loop it through, and then come back the other way. Really tight, all right? Hold it back. This puts direct pressure actually on the wound. Y'all, you can find these Israeli bandages all over Army surplus stores or on Amazon, whatever else. They're cheap. That's just got to pull through. It's just never going around. At the end of this, it's got a little clip on it. I'll rotate over so you can actually see it. And it's designed to walk in one side and the other. Yep. All right, so that is really, really tight. So very nicely done. All right, so this is wound packing. All right, so next video, next slide, you're gonna see here in just a second. It's gonna show you can use anything. If you don't have QuikClot, if you do buy QuikClot, you know, this is blue. Blue is always training. This is the real stuff. Do not use this for boo-boos unless you're independently wealthy. These are about $40 a packet, all right, because it's got the ingredient in it. Training's got nothing in it. Why do you think that there is blue lines on here? Quiz time. Why is there a blue line on there? It's X-ray radio opaque, right? So this blue line will show up in X-ray. So when we go to X-ray, we know exactly where that wound packing is. Same thing with OR sponges, all right? So if you have surgery, all those OR sponges have got a blue line on it that we can find. That shows up on X-ray. Okay, so on video, we're gonna go to the next slide. All right, so according to Stop the Bleed, they want you to wound pack first before a tourniquet. I'm gonna tell you that use whatever you've got available to you. All right, if you've got something wound packed, fine. If you've got a tourniquet, I would much rather you slap a tourniquet on if it's on an extremity, all right, instead of trying to wound pack an extremity. Just get the tourniquet out, put it on. You can use whatever you want to wound pack. I mean, if you've got a dirty sock, I don't care what it is. Either way, you're getting antibiotics as soon as you get to the hospital. But ideally, if you've got QuikClot, use it. If an extremity wound, you have a tourniquet, the tourniquet application will be a lot better. So compressed tourniquet. We only teach high and tight, all right? So I've modified this PowerPoint because according to the people who made this, I want you to do 2 to 3 inches above the wound. We teach one method only, so you only have to remember one thing, high or tight, high or die. So as high as you can up on the leg, as high as you can on the arm. Do not place over elbow or knee. Do not place over direct shoulder joint. Tie the tourniquet until it stops. Do not remove the tourniquet. We're going to see a couple of videos and we'll do a live demo here in a second. So we'll go to the next slide. All right, so I got a question. Why is it high and tight? I'll show you in just a second here. All right, so this is a video. So this is a live pig lab. You're going to see exactly what arterial bleed looks like. All right. You can see how that starts to die down a little bit. The pressure is starting to drop. If it's an open wound like that, you'll see the spurting. If it's covered up by clothes, whatever else, you will not see, but you'll see a heavy, heavy flow of blood. So next slide. All right. Preventable death. This is actually a medic in Afghanistan. Bled to death from a leg wound. Everybody meant well. All right, they tried. You can see the painting stick or makeup brush, whatever that is. They tried. They thought they're doing well, but y'all, this isn't going to work. All right, it's not going to work. If you're going to apply a tourniquet on someone, it's got to be at least 2 inches or more in width. You do something narrow like that, it does absolutely no good, causes more harm, does not work. It has to be wide. People think, well, it's better than nothing. It doesn't work. Okay, flat out, it does not work. It's got to be wide. If People say belts. But what about a belt? All right, a belt, yeah, a belt will work, but you are married to that person. You are tied to that individual because you cannot release pressure. All right, belts don't have loops all the way down to 3 inches. All right, so you've got to maintain pressure on that. You've got to pull it tight. You're stuck to that person. If that scene goes dynamic again, people start shooting, becomes dangerous, cars start blaring past you, you cannot walk off and leave that belt on. It'll loosen back up. So that's always a question. What about a belt? I'm not going to tell you a belt won't work, but you're married to them. And you've got to pull really, really hard. And once you look away, I can promise you that when you look away, you release pressure, they're going to start bleeding out. All right, next slide. All right, tourniquet can apply to yourself or others, can be applied over clothes. Tourniquets do hurt. They are painful. All right, a second tourniquet may be required to stop the bleeding. Okay. All right, we're going to watch this video real quick.
All right, so for the tourniquet application, first thing we have to do is have the tourniquet itself, have it on our person. To remove the tourniquet, I like to pre-stage it to where I can open it up immediately like so. We're going to imagine that Marty here has a bleed from the right arm, and so we're going to direct her to hold the pressure while we get our tourniquet ready. We're going to simply be able to slide it up on her arm. A couple of key points here. If you notice the red tab here, you always want the red tab going toward the applicator. If you're putting it on yourself, you want the red tab going toward the center of your body, and the reason behind that is a mechanical advantage. Let me demonstrate. So we undo the red tab. The first main failing point of tourniquets when people apply the tourniquet, go ahead and move your hand, Marty, is getting that first, all of the slack out of that first pull. If you see, it's not gentle, it's not just like, oh, well, I'm gonna be real super gentle about it and just barely put it on. That's incorrect, because getting all the slack out is the key point of the tourniquet. We got all of the slack out, we rotate it around, we adhere the self-adhering band to itself. At that point, if you notice, this ribbon right here runs the entire length of the tourniquet. We pull all of the slack out and we rotate it once, twice, and already I can feel that that tourniquet's going to be tight enough. The key thing that we're looking for is a cessation of bleeding. So bleeding will stop. So once that's done, I check her distal radial pulse. I do not feel a pulse, and the bleeding is stopped. At that point, I can go ahead and secure the strap. The second main failing point of a tourniquet is people fail to put the tourniquet strap all the way into the clip. A lot of people just run it through like so. The danger of that is if you have a carpeted floor, this Velcro will catch onto that and undo the tourniquet. Secondarily, the patient will most likely have an altered level of consciousness. So therefore, they might want to try to pull it off because tourniquets will hurt. So get it into the clip all the way around. And then your last step is to secure the time strap and annotate the time. One thing that you'll see tactical medics or paramedics do, we'll take a Sharpie and write the time, or T for tourniquet, and the time of application across the forehead. And the reason behind that is once they get to the medical facility, the attending physician will be at the head and they can see, hey, there's been a tourniquet applied, because if you're doing everything correctly and treating for hypothermia, if I have a blanket on Marty here, they won't readily see the tourniquets applied. For the thigh area, you actually want to undo the whole entire length of the tourniquet like so. And the reason being is if I still have a loop and I go up her leg and she by chance has a compound fracture, I could catch the end of the bone and actually worsen the injury. So we completely undo the tourniquet. We'll say that her left leg right here is the one that sustained the fracture. So I come across and I use like a back and forth seesaw motion to get that as high as I possibly can in her thigh area. We need to do that because because she's wearing these pants, she may have sustained several gunshot wounds. Say the only gunshot wound I see is right here. Well, and I try to put the tourniquet right here, and she sustained another one that I don't see up here. She's still gonna bleed out. So we go as high as we can, as tight as we can. If you remember, the red arrow always goes toward my midline, toward me. So I'm going to get all the slack out. I got you. And I'm going to go ahead and
They
secure,
have a tourniquet.
pull that tight to get all the ribbon slack out. And I'm
They have
going
a
to
tourniquet.
twist. Another important thing is to check her
A
pockets. Make sure
tourniquet?
she doesn't have anything in her pockets. I should have done that first.
Yes.
If there's something in her pockets, we can get that out. I don't feel anything in her pockets, so we can continue on. We look for the cessation of bleeding, so her bleeding stops. Or if I tighten this as tight as I possibly can, I'll go ahead and secure this one. And then I would take a second tourniquet. Take a second tourniquet, and I would put it directly next to and touching this one. If you look, the tourniquets are touching together. So I get all the slack out again. All right. All right. So, and I do the same thing. I twist, twist, twist. I get it locked into place. And then I go ahead and secure the rest of the band, both of them. And that should stop the bleeding. Now, if you see, these tourniquets should be at least very, very close to touching. If there's a wide space, it creates a condition for compartment syndrome and crush injury, which can build up the lactic acid, the potassium, all those different things, that when the tourniquet's undone, yeah, you may have done a good job stopping the bleeding, but you've just released all those toxins back into the bloodstream. Once that reaches their heart, they could have some cardiac issues and die. So these have to be touching. That's another key point. This is all it should take. You shouldn't need a third or fourth tourniquet. Okay, so as I mentioned a little bit before, notice how she's wearing all these long sleeve, long pant leg. There could be multiple gunshot wounds or multiple injuries that I don't see. I may only see an injury down here, for example, at her lower leg. And if I miss the injury up here and only put the tourniquet right here, right below her knee, then she's still gonna bleed out because of this. By putting it high and tight, you take care of all of the bleeding in the entire extremity or any possibility of bleeding in the entire extremity, as well as you only have to do it one time. You don't have to go further up and undo it and that sort of thing.